Jesus is so holy. He is so different from everybody. There's only one God who chose to become a man to die on the cross for us. Think about it, guys. All throughout history, there were a lot of people who wanted to become gods. They just love all things deified, starting from pharaohs. The pharaohs, they thought they were deity figures. They built tall pyramids to try to ascend into heaven and have their own special tomb, blah 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 blah. And then there were kings of Persia, Mesopotamia, kings that of Babylon that just clothed in prettiness and big giant crowns and all that. They had crowns that were so big they had a double crown. It was just so much pomp, so much of the all that trying to glorify their own self, there was so much selfishness. There was so much of them trying to make themselves into a god, blah blah blah. And there were so many kings like that, so many of people like that. And then you come to Jesus. And Jesus, he did not have a very pretty crown. Instead, the crown that Jesus chose was this, a crown of thorns. So you could see why I chose Jesus. I have never heard in my life of a king choosing to wear a crown of thorns. There were so many kings out there, they wanted one crown, two crowns, a double crown. You just have to have the double crown, huh? You just have to have all the jewels, huh? And then there's this one humble king who chose to wear the crown of thorns, which represented the curse that was placed on mankind because of our disobedience. Because of our disobedience, thorns and thistles grew up out of the ground. And it became so much harder to plant and harvest food because of thorns and thistles. But Jesus took the curse. He became that curse on the cross so that we could inherit his blessings. And there were so many kings out there. They were just clothing themselves in silk. They're clothing themselves in gold. They're clothing themselves in velvet and purple and all the most expensive pomp in the world. And then you have Jesus who died on the cross naked. Why? Because he had his robes stripped to clothe us who were naked in our sin and our shame. He clothed us with his righteousness, his robes of righteousness, his robes of being the Son of God. He clothed us so that we can have right standing before God because he took our punishment upon the cross. And there were so many kings. Just think of King Solomon. Just think of King David, all the kings throughout history, Babylon, Persia. They made their thrones of marble. They made their thrones big and fancy. They had steps that go up to their throne. They're like, oh, you want to go up to the throne? You got to climb the steps. You got to climb like 500 steps. They just had like statues right next to their throne, inlaid with gold. I don't care, whatever. They had super fancy chairs. But when Jesus came to earth, this is why he is so amazing. This is why he is my king. The throne that he chose was a cross. Was a cross, guys, an old rugged cross where he was crucified, naked, hanging by nails. This is Jesus. This is the king that we choose to kneel to. This Jesus who was given all authority in heaven and earth. And what did he do after? He knelt down and washed his disciples' feet. And when I saw that, I was like, this is the King of glory. That he got all authority in heaven and earth. That's more authority than Caesar in Rome. That's more authority than the kings in China. That's more authority than all the presidents. Jesus got all authority. And then what did he do first? Did he pop open a champagne first? Party of his disciples first? I don't know. That sounds like a right thing to do. But no, instead he got up in the middle of eating dinner. He went and got a dirty foot rag, wrapped it around his body, and then knelt down and washed his disciples' feet. You could imagine the disciples were shocked. Especially Peter. He was like, Lord, you would not wash me, like, and Jesus be like, if I don't wash you, you have no part in me. And Peter's like, yeah, wash my hands and my head too. And Jesus is like, you are clean. It's just your feet. See, my friends, Jesus is so wonderful. He is so kind. There's a lot of people out there, they're like, this is my body, my will, my choices. It's my body. I could do whatever I want. I could tattoo whatever I want. I could take whatever I want. I could do whatever I want. It's my body. And what did Jesus say? This is my body, which is given for you. Take and eat. My body is broken for you. My blood poured out for you, for the sins of many. That is Jesus. He is so different, so holy and special. He does not look like any other. Just think of all the other gods of this world. All the other gods, from the tall Buddhist statues of all inlaid gold, blah, 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 and the tall statues of Krishna and Hindu gods and all sorts of gods. 4,200 religions. There's only one empty tomb. And then there's Jesus, the God of the Christians. He's not decked with gold. The only thing he's decked with is his blood. He was red on that cross. I don't know about you, but if you see someone who's bleeding, you'd be like, whoa, there's something wrong here. You see, our blood is supposed to be on the inside of our bodies. But for Jesus, his blood's on the outside of his body. That's why he's all red. This King of Glory, who is supposed to be clothed with silk and gold, and yet the only thing he's wearing was the blood that he shed for sinners. And what did he die for? Did he die for good people? No, he died for sinners. He died for sinners, guys. This Jesus, this King of Glory, this wonderful God, clothed in flesh, to die on a cross and be buried in a tomb. And when Jesus was buried, he conquered death, hell, and the grave. Jesus faced death face to face, and he conquered death. He conquered death because Jesus is perfect. He is the sinless one. And the grave swallowed him. And then the grave couldn't hold him, because Jesus is so perfect and the grave only holds sinners. Jesus is so perfect. He just exploded out. He rolled the stone away. He came out holding the keys of death and Hades. This is the Jesus that we worship and serve and love. He is the one who is so humble, so holy, so different from everybody else. If you put a picture of all the other gods out there and you put them all on one panel, you have the Greek gods, Roman gods, Hindu gods, blah, 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 blah. You put pictures of them, and then you're like, they seem to all have a bunch of pomp. Yeah, all gold glitz here, deified glitz there, some sprinkles here, man, a bunch of power there. And then you have Jesus right in the middle. You put a picture of Jesus right in the middle, bling, and you're like, oh, he is so different from everybody. Who is this? Who is this holy, holy, wonderful God who died naked on the cross, bleeding for my sins? You take pictures of kings throughout history, all the way from pharaohs to Babylon and Mesopotamia. You put them together on a board, and then you put King Jesus, boom, right in the middle, crowned with thorns. And you'd be like, oh, he does not look like any other king. You see, because he is not like any other king, and he is not like any other God. He is the one true God, and there is still only one name under heaven which mankind can be saved, and that's the name of Jesus Christ.